Hey everybody, Bruce here with Traveling with Bruce. I have another update for you. It is the 11th of February 2020, and I have three ships to talk to you about today. The Diamond Princess, still in quarantine in Yokohama. I got news here. Holland America Westerdam can't find a place to dock. Now it can't even go to Bangkok. And the Caribbean Princess, another princess ship, but this one is returning back to Fort Lauderdale because of gastrointestinal issues. Thanks for subscribing to my channel, giving my videos thumbs ups. Really appreciate it. Love your comments. And thank you for joining me on my Facebook group page. Love that. By the way, if you check out the link down below, you'll find we are going on our first ever group cruise. The Traveling with Bruce channel invites you to join us on our first ever group cruise. We're headed to Perfect Day at Coco Cay. We're heading to St. Thomas and St. Kitts. We're going to be on the Royal Caribbean Harmony of the Seas. Ambren Travel, you see the logo there on the bottom right? Ambren Travel is handling all of the booking details. They'll talk to you about all the cabins and all the selections. Just check them out down below. Come and join us this December 2020 for a one-week cruise. We're going to have some fun. All right, well, let's talk about the latest news that is hitting the news wires regarding these three ships I'm following in this particular video. The first one will be the Diamond Princess. Now, the Diamond Princess has been in quarantine in Yokohama, Japan, just outside of Tokyo, for almost a week. And we're talking about over 2,600 passengers, 1,100 crew. There has been some more developments. First of all, the breakdown is this. Elderly passengers on the ship. 80% of the passengers on the ship are elderly. They're over 60 years of age or older. That's over 2,000 people. Of those, 215 are in their 80s. 11 of them are in their 90s. And the Japanese authorities are looking to disembark elderly passengers earlier than the quarantine, but not by much. Apparently the quarantine is supposed to end next week, Wednesday, the 19th of February 2020. We are talking about disembarkation as early as Tuesday, the day before, so we'll see how this plays out. But in any event, what's happened is the cruise line added in the last 24 hours 45 doctors are now on this ship, 55 nurses are on the ship, and 45 pharmacists have been assigned to this ship. Now, these are all volunteers. I do not know if they are living on board the ship. I suspect they might be. These folks are on board here to tend to the needs of 3,700 plus people, if you add the crew in here, and to monitor their meds that they're on as far as regular prescriptions. Doctors are making sure that no one has any other physical issues, or if any of these folks start to display that flu, they will be able to notify authorities. The big speculation, though, is that passengers on board the ship and others have been speculating that Japan wants to do a full-blown blood test on every single person on this cruise ship. And in order to do that, you're going to need 45 doctors, 55 nurses. You got 100 healthcare providers brought on specifically to help with the testing. This makes sense because if you're dealing with 3,700 people here, 100 qualified people that can do monitoring of medical testing and blood taking and so on. You got 100 people for 3,600 people. Kind of makes sense. You can do this all in about a day or two maximum and get it done, and then send the samples in for testing and wait your 3-4 days to get it back, and hopefully you'll have virtually everybody cleared of this mess, and people will be allowed to disembark, and the authorities in Japan can go, hey, we've done everything we've had to do. These folks are absolutely without the illness. We're going to let them off the ship and let them go about their way. We'll see. We'll follow this. Like I say, this is changing almost by the hour, so I'll keep following this story as I always have. All right, story number 2. Holland America Westerdam. Oh my gosh. The ship left Yokohama for a 14-day cruise. It didn't even leave Yokohama. It was supposed to go to Yokohama. It left Hong Kong for a 14-day cruise. Originally, it was supposed to go to Shanghai. Then they changed it to Yokohama, and the ship was supposed to go from 1st of Feb to the 15th. to Yokohama. And then it was supposed to go from the 15th to the 29th of February on another 14-day trip all over Asia, Yokohama to Yokohama. This is all changed out. The ship completed her last cruise, added passengers in Hong Kong, and was working her way through the Asia to make her way to Yokohama for the 15th Feb. Got told that you can't come into Manila on some like day 3. They couldn't come to Manila. They were able to go to Taiwan. Then on day 5, 6, 7, and all the way up, they couldn't go to any ports further on. That included all of these Japanese ports and included Busan and South Korea. So the ship basically turned around and started heading south, trying to find a port that they would eventually go to that would allow them to disembark their passengers at the end of a 14-day cruise. And they were rejected again in Hong Kong. They were rejected in Manila. They were rejected in Taiwan. They were rejected in Singapore. Yesterday, the 10th of February, good news, Bangkok, Thailand. They said, yeah, we can come on in here. There's a port 30, 40 miles away from Bangkok. We'll let you come in there, and you can disembark your passengers after you screen them, make sure they haven't got any virus. If they don't, no one aboard apparently is ill, and they can go about their way. Well, nope, not even 12 hours later, that was canceled. Bangkok and Thailand backed out. They chickened out. The political pressure on these governments is so intense, and the so-called scaremongering is so unbelievable that in some of these Asian countries, folks, if you think there's prejudice in certain countries around the world, head over there. There are countries that they really don't like each other, and they're nearby each other. There's a lot of culture going back that clashes over the generations. And I can tell you, the folks on this ship are cursed. There are no countries in the Asia area that will allow the ship in. Like I said before, no one has the flu on this ship. Everyone is healthy. The passengers on the Westerdam can go anywhere they want on the ship. They've been enjoying a full-blown cruise with all the food and all the amenities of the ship. They can go to they can go get exercise in the exercise club. They can walk the decks all they want. They see shows. They have the piano bars. The casino's open. Everything's working, except the ship can't stop anywhere. And so now the speculation is, where will this ship end up, everybody? And we can't answer that question yet. I'm kind of wondering if maybe Malaysia will do it. They'll allow them into Kuala Lumpur. If they can get there, there's an international airport still functioning with regular flights to most places in the world. Of course, anyone living in Hong Kong that wants to go back to Hong Kong, I don't know how they're going to get back to Hong Kong, even from Kuala Lumpur. I have no idea if there are any flights being allowed in. And when they do land in Hong Kong, will they be placed by the Hong Kong authorities under a mandatory 14-day quarantine period? It's not good. I have no idea. It could well be that Kuala Lumpur lets the ship in, but then makes the ship sit there for 14 days with a 14-day quarantine period before they let them off the ship. I just don't know. This is getting bizarre and more ridiculous all the time. But on the other hand, we're dealing with a deadly issue here, and countries are just not interested in taking chances, and I can understand that. All right, the third story of the day, for a little change of pace, the Caribbean Princess cruise ship has been in the Caribbean area for a 14-day cruise. The ship left Fort Lauderdale on February the 2nd. And they headed to St. Martin on the 5th. Everyone had a good time, apparently. The 6th, they were in St. Thomas. But on the 7th, they were supposed to go to St. Kitts. St. Kitts would not let anyone off the ship. As a matter of fact, they wouldn't let the ship into the port. Gastrointestinal outbreak, that's the norovirus, they call that, broke out on the ship, and they were supposed to go to Martinique, and I don't believe Martinique let them off the ship either, and Barbados on the 9th of February definitely did not let them in to Bridgetown, and yesterday, the 10th, Trinidad and Tobago officially told the Caribbean Princess, sorry, you can't come into Trinidad and Tobago either. You have too many illnesses. The story is, or the numbers are, total passengers on board, 4,196. That's passengers and crew. 299 of the passengers at last report have the virus, and 22 crew members. So we're talking over 321 people are affected, and that is too high a percentage with respect to how many folks are on that ship to be allowed into these ports. And so what's happened is The rest of the trip, the stops in Bonaire, Aruba, are canceled, and the ship was supposed to return on the 16th of February to Fort Lauderdale under normal conditions. It's now heading back to Fort Lauderdale now. It will be there day after tomorrow, the 13th of February, so it'll be there 3 days early. The next cruise is scheduled to leave 3 days later after the ship gets a serious scrub down in their home port. All passengers on board this cruise have been told that they're going to get a 50% refund off the cost of this cruise, and they're getting a 50% future cruise credit for what they paid on this cruise for any other cruise going forward. I don't know about airline change fees and that type of thing. Normally, Princess is really good about this kind of stuff, and I suspect that is being worked out and will be provided as well. But at the moment, the ship is working her way back to Fort Lauderdale with at least 321 cases of this virus. How many more, I don't know. I'm certain that if you are on that ship and you want to use you want to go to the buffet, you can't touch any of the implements. You are in effect. You might be holding your plate and you're pointing at what you want, and the staff is literally putting it on your plate for you. There are all kinds of protocols in effect. I'm not sure about masks being worn by staff and or passengers. I'm not sure if they went that far. But I would imagine that any passenger who's suffering from the virus has been quarantined in their cabins. And I can imagine that there are almost 300 passengers not having a good time right now because they can't even get out of their rooms. If you're in a balcony room, at least you can look out and at least get out on the balcony and get some air. But if you're in an inside room, you are quarantined on a moving ship going back to Fort Lauderdale until the day after tomorrow. And I don't know how long some of these folks may have been, suffering from this for 5 days already, for all I know. I don't know, or 4 days, or whatever the number is. It's can't be fun. Anyway, that's what's happening in the world of cruising with respect to these particular ships. The Diamond Princess still quarantined in Yokohama. The Holland America Westerdam can't find a port that'll take him in no matter what. And then this ship here. By the way, back to the Westerdam, with ships in Asia, my God. You can imagine why, you can now understand why no cruise liner is going to sail into Asia, even if they're passing by. The Cunard Queen Mary II just yesterday announced officially they are not stopping anywhere in Asia. They are going from Sri Lanka right to Australia, and they're skipping at least 2 weeks, if not 3 weeks, of Asia stops, which usually is a pretty big highlight of a Cunard round the world cruise. They're going to spend more time in Australia and New Zealand and then figure out from there where they're going, but they're not going to Asia. Other cruise lines, I am certain, are altering all kinds of cruises. Only 2.5 weeks ago, there were 21 ships sailing Asian waters all over the place, and none are sailing now in the heart of Asia. If they're sailing at all, they're sailing around the Malaysia area, perhaps a bit of Indonesia. But if I were a cruise line operator, I would be looking at getting my ships the heck out of there, canceling the rest of the Asia season, and putting the ships to work somewhere else. But easier said than done, because boy, are you talking about logistical issues with staff and your crew, and then the logistics of fuel, food, services, and your passengers. Where are your customers coming from? You sold them a cruise in Asia for 2 weeks in, say, a month from now, and you now offer them a cruise where? Where are you going to offer them a cruise? You're going to offer them a cruise in India and the Middle East? Are you going to offer them a cruise in towards Africa? Are you going to offer them a cruise for Australia and New Zealand? Are you going to offer them a cruise in the South Pacific? Many islands in the South Pacific have banned cruise ships. You can't offer them a Mexican cruise. I mean, they were supposed to get on the ship in, say, Hong Kong. What are they supposed to do now? Get on the ship in San Diego? How does that work? And then when they get off the ship in San Diego, how do they get back home? This is just an absolute disaster for a number of cruise lines with a number of ships. Carnival is probably taking the biggest hit with at least 4 or 5 Costa cruise ships out of commission right now, and of course the Princess cruise ship here in Yokohama, and now of course the Caribbean Princess. I mean, Carnival is taking it on the chin. But Royal Caribbean Spectrum of the Seas is empty, not moving, not doing anything. And we have Spirit, the Norwegian Spirit ship, canceling all of its cruises, just coming out of dry dock. This is a big deal and getting bigger. But so far, It isn't really spreading to any other regions other than Asia, at least as far as the cruise lines are concerned, but we could be talking early days. I don't know for sure. Anyway, I will keep following this story. I'll do the best I can for you, folks. Thank you again for subscribing to my channel. Thank you for thumbs ups on my videos. I appreciate your support and encouragement. Thank you for giving me comments about my videos. Also, joining my Facebook group page, Traveling with Bruce, spelled with 2 L's in the word traveling. There are no L's in the word Bruce, you know. Thank you for doing that. And also, a bunch of you are starting to pile into my Instagram page, the Traveling with Bruce Instagram site. Jennifer, my wife, who looks like Jennifer Aniston, that's why we call her Jennifer, she's handling that page, and I think we now have over 190 followers on Instagram. We only had about 160 or so a couple of weeks ago. Fantastic. Welcome aboard, you guys. Thanks for joining me, and consider joining us for our group cruise in December, long time from now in the Caribbean. I think it'll go on without a hitch. We're going to have a lot of fun. And we'll talk to you later, everybody. Take care. Bye for now.